road trip, stopping at a service station. And we're almost in Dalton, Georgia. And I'm going here because we're meeting a sharpener from Chattanooga that tells me he can sharpen 20 clipper blades in 1 hour. Now I do 4 an hour. So I wanted to see him do this and see if he really could do it and see if there's a few tricks I can pick up from him. So this is our first sharpening road trip, and I hope to have some more in the future. So if you know of some sharpeners you want us to go visit and videotape for you to watch, let me know. Especially if they're out of the country. That sounds good. So stay tuned and let's see if he can really do 20 clipper blades in 1 hour. So that comes out to, let's see, 20 goes into 6. 2 go to 6, 30. So Steve, the reason we're here is because you told me you can do how many blades an hour?
Approximately 20.
Approximately 20. I can do 4. I want to see this.
Okay.
And I brought some blades with me. Now, let's see how many you can do in 30 minutes, we're thinking, or we'll see. Now, these blades are not all in the best shape. I didn't even really look at them that close, but I got a bag of blades there.
Okay.
And I want to see how you do them and see what you do different, and we'll test them afterwards. I got some used stuff to test them with.
Okay, first things first.
You come up a little bit higher here so I can, let's see.
5, 6 blades in a row on my shooting board. Okay, first thing I do is I use the tool from Dennis Brooks, and I use the Nebraska Blades socket setter.
Oh, okay.
In combination with each other. So I'll set this in.
Yeah, so you're doing it without taking them apart. Okay.
Then I'll take it apart. But this is the very first thing I do before I do anything else.
So that's a little different than me.
Yeah, it makes it a lot faster because I'm not sitting here trying to hold on to everything.
And while you're doing this, tell me a little bit about yourself, how long you've been sharpening, and your name, and also what's going on with this finger with the bandage.
Okay. I have 2 different websites on Facebook. So one of them has me down as John, and the other has me as Steve Paylett. That happened because Facebook is a pain. Okay, I do use an impact driver. Just makes it so much easier on your wrist trying to put them together.
Okay, so that's something different than me.
Anyway, I've been sharpening for a little over 14 years now. And we'll put that off to the side because
that noise is the band next to us.
It's got flat screws in it, so we're just going to put that off to the side. Okay, we're going to set that one off to the side. It's filthy and rusty, so not going to worry about it. Now we do have a couple of blades here that have ceramics in them. Normally I do not sharpen the ceramics. They either cut or they don't. If they don't, I'll just change out the cutter and not worry about it. All of the groomer is interested in is, does it cut? There's another one with flat screws in it, and another one with flat screws in it.
I have no idea the story on these blades. I just tend to collect stuff like this.
Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
That's enough. Yeah, you know how to do those other ones. Let's just see how long it takes you to do 8.
Okay. One of the things that I do a little bit different than most people, I go to Lowe's and I buy these in the paint department. It's just a wire brush, 1 inch by about 2.
Oh yeah, that is wire.
It is wire.
Yeah, it is wire. Didn't look like it, but it is wire. And it's a paintbrush for scraping paint?
It's in the paint department.
Okay.
So I just take it, run that down, clean these all up. I see no reason to spend lots of time cleaning stuff that the dog groomer never takes the time to even brush them off.
Okay.
You know, it's just, they're not giving them to me sanitized. They'll be a little bit more sanitized when I'm done because they'll be at least cleaned off. So I do 1 set of.
So you're not taking those apart? Or you're doing anything to tighten them?
I do not take them apart. There's no reason to.
Okay, well, that saves some time. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Done. I do use a laser to run across the center line of my wheel. And things that I've got done here is I've got this set with 1 screw here, 1 here. So as I move this back and forth, it does change my angle. So I can always, if I've changed the wheel and the wheel's a little bit different for whatever reason and the box is a little different, it allows me to change that out and always maintain. I am using WD-40 now.
Okay.
Instead of using the Lard oil. It smells a whole lot better.
Yeah.
And it's not nearly as big a mess. After I've run this machine, I'll go ahead and, while it's still running at full speed, run back and forth across here a couple times with the WD-40. So that pretty well washes my blade.
Okay. So that's what you clean the plate with?
That's how I clean
is a
the plate.
WD-40.
But I really, the plate is not getting cleaned super well. It's always going to have some grit on it. I am using 180 grit.
Oh, so that's something else. You're using a little coarser grit than what we typically do.
And what I do is I take clipper blades that are old and used. This one you can see it's got a big gap in it. And this is how I spread my grit.
Oh, with the clipper blade, okay.
Because it is flat, it is not going to dig into the wheel.
So WD-40 cleans it and also is your glue instead of the lard oil.
Is.
Okay, so the one thing, okay.
Now I'm running a little bit bigger wheel now. I'm running 1.25 inches. So this takes a little time to spin up because I'm only running a 1/3 horsepower. Very small motor.
Okay. Why is this blinking?
The power's going on and off. You may want to stop that for just a moment.
All right, show me how you've got it clamped on your... Okay.
Okay, and when I'm sharpening, my elbow is down on my knee, so I only have one pivot point, and that's my L5. And a lot of times I'll put my knee up.
You have to speak a whole lot louder because I'm having trouble hearing it. And you got a soft voice, not like mine.
Not like hers.
Not like that either.
Okay, I put my elbow on my knee, put my knee against my bench, so now I only have one very small pivot point. Take around 10 passes, and you can see it's clean.
And you're only working the outside of the blade. You don't go all the way to the center?
On my combs, I only work the outside of the blade.
Okay. That's it? Just those few passes? Of course, you got 180 grit.
10 passes.
That was 10? Okay.
Now you can see that one looks pretty nasty. Basically got some line going across, wear line. We got some divots in there. Broken tooth.
Yeah, normally you would just, if you had a broken tooth like that, you wouldn't do it, but these are just for you to experiment with.
It depends. If I know that they're using it underneath the comb, a clip-on comb,
yeah,
I'm doing it. On the cutters, I go all the way into this line that's drawn in here on my wheel.
Okay.
So I'll start on the outside.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And the next thing I do is I actually touch the blade to see if it's sharp.
Okay.
Because that's going to tell me, especially on the really cheap blades, whether it's sharp or not. Okay, this one we've got through here, nothing on there. We've got an uneven wear pattern here. When I'm doing my grind, I've got my laser and it's bisecting through the center line here. So I know I've got a certain hollow on that side and a certain hollow on that side.
So you're lining up between the two rails.
It's about right there, and if you look at the edge of my thumb, I'll lay it out right there so it kind of lights up my thumbnail.
Okay. You do a lot of things different than the way I was taught to do it, but let's see how the proof is in the cutting.
You should feel that.
What am I feeling?
Just feel the tip, just pull your finger through.
Oh, that's sharp.
That's how I know it's sharp.
Okay.
This one is not too bad. Starting to get a little grind here.
There we go.
So
Okay.
you can see it was grinding a little here. And my lines are nice and straight. Looking at this, I'm taking it, rolling it back and forth on the light so I can see if I've got a full grind.
Okay.
Anyway, by keeping everything having to worry about the blade twisting and not being exactly where I want it.
One other question, Steve, is you don't wear a mask when you do this?
I'm not really concerned. It's aluminum oxide. If it were silicon, I would definitely wear a mask.
Okay.
You know, silicon carbide.
Yeah. Because I'm smelling a lot of dust, a lot of stuff coming up my nose with this. You don't smell it?
I'm looking at it, smell anything.
I'm gonna pop on one of my masks if you don't mind.
Okay, that's the last one. I'm flashing back and forth.
Oh yeah. So how many have you done now?
All of them?
All of them. Okay, you've done.
All but the last other.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them? Is that 9? So now we gotta clean them and put them back together. And you just charge the plate once to do that many.
That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8, okay. I get back and edit this, I'll see exactly how long it takes you per blade. And for people that are watching what you're doing now, you're demagnetizing.
I am demagnetizing. So I try to keep everything within hand's reach. Now they do get rusty.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can see that or not.
Yeah, I definitely see the rust on it.
And now you can see I've taken all that rust out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Really mostly concerned about getting the debris from the grind out of there, and that does take it out very quickly. Number 10s are the ones that are the worst about getting debris in here, so I grind and then I check under my light.
Yeah, yeah.
Number 15s are pretty bad too. And they do come out nice and clean, just using the wire brush. So I see no reason to put them into an ultrasonic tank. It's just an extra couple of steps, because then you got to dry them off. And they're still not going to be much cleaner than what I'm doing here. By laying them out this way, it's so much faster than trying to physically hold these all of the moving parts in your hand. And that's a real time saver. That gets most of the rust off of there.
Mm-hmm.
For my oil, I just go over and go like the Lowe's and buy compressor oil.
Compressor oil, okay.
It's high pressure oil, so for doing the startup, it's really nice. Okay, come back through, do all of my.
Where are you putting the oil?
I'm putting it in the groove.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
Okay.
Let's see. So I'm putting it in the groove. It only takes a drop.
Okay.
Come back. Set all of my blades on the guides. Meanwhile, I'm pushing the sockets back all the way back to the back side of the spring.
Okay.
I put 4 drops of oil on. 2 towards the middle, that way it doesn't kind of push out to the ends.
So all the cutters are getting 4 drops of oil.
One process all the way through, another process all the way through, another process all the way through.
Okay.
So it's very systematic. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, what this is this one. Now you probably noticed that I did not crush the springs.
Yes, I did notice that.
95% of the time, you don't have to do that.
If the 5%, can you tighten it without taking it apart?
No.
Okay.
But I will just change out the spring in the socket as a set, and
Oh, you just put a new set in there.
almost virtually always that takes care of any problem that I might be having with the blade not cutting, because it just, the socket may be tilted from the way they take it on and off of the clipper machine. And you can see this really does speed up how fast you can put the blades back together.
So how are you checking to see if they're aligned?
I'll show you in a minute.
Oh, okay.
One process at a time. Okay. I am tilting the comb.
I can't quite see that, but maybe I'll...
I'm tilting the comb to about that angle as I'm trying to screw these together.
Okay. I think I'll be able to see it when you get to the ones on the far left.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit better.
This is one process that occasionally does happen. I'll miss the socket, it'll
Okay.
shift forward on me. So I just back it out and then can pop it right back in. Still faster than doing it trying to hold everything in one hand and
Yeah.
you know. I think this is probably the part that slows everybody down.
Oh, I know. It slows me
dramatically.
down. This has always been an issue.
I wonder who they're looking for.
That's what I was looking for. I like using the little shorties. They give me a little bit more control on getting these things in.
Oh, police going up and down in the parking lot?
Yeah, there's several of them.
Oh,
in
several
there.
of them?
Yeah.
I didn't do it.
Well, they come knocking on our door.
We'll say hello. Let's see.
They've been going up and down the line.
Now, so have you had any adventures working out of your van with police or criminals or anything of that nature? Because I've had other
Once.
people have told me stories.
I had one lady at a hair salon, went in, did her stuff. It was a really well-used shear. And the next time I went in, she called the cops and said I had stolen her shear and replaced it with that old junker. She's out of business at that location. I had another lady, owner of a shop. The shop was full of people. And she stopped what she was doing and chased me all the way out to my van after asking me to leave. So I got in my van and left. The shop went under within about 3 months. It had been there for many years.
So in other words, they don't need to treat you bad or the shop will close, right?
That's probably true.
All right, let's see how you line these up now.
Okay.
That's what I'm curious to know.
I use my small screwdriver
Okay.
and I'm setting these to the back. And that one moved a little bit, so we'll just... Okay. Now my blade's lined up.
So when you tightened them when they were laying there, you didn't tighten them all the way down. You left a little bit of
No,
slop.
I leave, they're fairly tight so they don't move on me. But it does not take very much to move them over.
So you use the little screwdriver to kind of move them over.
Yep.
Now notice you got a pretty good wobble on your clipper hone. That doesn't affect the
Once it's up and moving the speed, it runs smooth and flat.
Okay.
That's more of a harmonic because of the way I built my machine. The blades that people seem to have a lot of problem is the wall competition. And if you don't move the back of the cutter to the back edge of the guide, they won't cut. And you'll go back over it and sharpen it and sharpen it and sharpen it, and it's already sharp. But generally speaking, I do exactly what Bob Sissel said to do, to set the back of the cutter to the back of the rail.
Don't you find when you do that, though, a good amount of the time they're not
See how
really.
nice it is on the front?
Yeah, but aren't there some times it's not nice like that on the front?
Occasionally, but that's why as I'm looking, like this one it's right at the edge, and I would not leave it like that. So I will move it back a little bit. And it's especially important on the number 40 blades that you sight down and make sure you've got a setback that's at least that much, which is about a 20,000th.
Okay.
And when I first started checking all of these, I used a little tool that Jason at the Edge Pro sells. Okay. This one, I'm hanging off a lot right here on both sides. So I'll loosen that up just a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. And one thing that I do recommend is when you're setting these, push the blade back and forth so that it sets down correctly in the guide.
Okay.
Now as I'm doing this, I'm pushing on the back of the socket and the back of the spring, and then I'm sighting down like a gun sight down the blade to make sure that I'm getting it leveled off evenly all the way down. And I just tighten them up as I go so they're ready to be tested. Okay, this one looks pretty good on both sides, but you can see how far off. That's what you were talking about earlier. You know, to make sure that I've actually got it lined up.
Yeah. So that one it doesn't line up with the back rail. You have to push it up, right?
It's got to be lined up here, but that's a good starting point. So now all the blades are put back together.
All right, let's test them. Hey, I got something new if you want to try some of this. Look at here. I bought this online, and it comes in a roll.
Okay.
Do you want to... I just got that in. I just thought it was convenient to be on a roll like that.
Well, I buy rugs.
Oh, where do you get that from?
Fabric store.
Fabric store?
So I got my trusty little tester. I only run these things at about, the slow speed. And you don't have to take a huge amount. Okay, this one has a bad cutter on it.
Oh, that was the one with ceramic?
It is a ceramic.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to reset that again.
You think it's the tension?
No, it moved. That's a little light on the tension. Just curious. I've not sharpened that blade at all.
Okay.
So it was a bad cutter.
Okay.
And that would be one I would just change out. Okay, that's still got a little bit of a wobble in it. And you don't have to take a great amount, just enough to make sure that it's cutting. I've seen people, you know, just tear up their fur. And this one is...
Looks like it was bogging down, wasn't it?
It was. Okay, this socket was twisted this way. So it can be just something as simple as a socket. You just change the socket out, or you know, use your tool and. And this one has probably got another problem with a bad cutter. Now you can see it leaves a little bit of debris from the oil.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you can see that's got a little bit of a wobble in it, and that's going to keep it from cutting all the way across. Another thing I'll do is I'll check it this way, and you can see it's got a fair amount of play in it. Stick the tongue. And that'll flatten this out.
Okay.
You don't have to really kill it, but it's... Now it's still got a little bit of play, but that's fine. Because the socket's parallel to the comb. But that can really save you a lot of time just trying to figure out what's going on and why it's not cutting.
Okay.
So it does not take a whole lot of time to do it, but
and then that one you had over there, you would probably just change out the cutter on it and go. Yeah, which don't do that because we.
Well, these are dead anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But the idea is you do one set of items, and then you do the next set, and then you do the next set, so that you do everything as one continual a system, if you will. And that's how you do it really fast and speed up your production, and you make real money.
So how much you charge per blade, Steve?
I charge $7 a blade, so that when I have I've got a couple of customers that when I go in, they normally give me anywhere between 20 to 40 blades every time I go in. So that's $140, you know, in an hour. I don't see where anybody should complain about $140 an hour.
All right. Well, that's been interesting. That's been quite a few things you do different than the way I've been doing. So I think if I pick up one or two of your tricks, maybe not all of them, I'll be a much faster sharpener.
My suggestion is get a shooting board so you can lay everything out.
Okay.
And then you do your... Normally, if I had like 20 blades here, I would have, while I was waiting for my wheel to slow down, I would be cleaning everything.
Now, how often do you charge your plate?
Every 5 to 10 blades.
Okay, so at this point,
Usually
you would be...
5 to 7.
And you're only using the WD-40 for cleaning and for the glue for the grid.
That's it.
So that saves a step there. Well, thank you,
I mean,
Steve. I appreciate you having us.
Clean the wheel is kind of silly.
Yeah, I hate the charging the wheel. I hate the charging
Everybody
part.
hates charging the wheel.
Well, I appreciate your time, and you proved to me that you can do 20 in an hour, because I haven't really timed it, but you got 8 done in little of no time.
20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes. You were timing them, okay? All right. So, thank you, Steve. Anything you want to add or advice to people that are doing or sharpening that you, add on to this?
Don't be afraid to try new things. I did not learn any of this from the several classes I've taken hands-on at the Jam or the show up in Nashville for the National Beauty Tool Sharpeners Guild. But always ask questions, because if you're having a problem, I promise somebody's had that problem before, at least a dozen times.
And I'd like to add a suggestion. If anybody wants to try some of the techniques you did, I would add only one of them at a time.
One at a time.
And see if that works. Yeah, don't change everything you're doing at one time. Try one thing, see how that works for you before you try something else.
And you may have to do it 3 or 4 times before it actually works.
And this works for you. It may not be for everybody, but it works for you.
It does. Another thing that I'm doing when I'm grinding is, as I'm moving my cutters particularly, as I'm doing the grind, I'm using a heavier weight pressure here than I do in here. So I'm maybe down about a half a pound.
So you're pressing harder when you get to the outside of the
I
wheel?
would do my normal pressure on the outside of the wheel,
Mm-hmm.
and then I lighten up.
And lighten up on
when
that.
I get to the inside.
How much pressure would you say you're using?
About a pound and a half a pound.
Okay.
I mean, if I put this on your hand.
Okay. Well, there goes my camera.
So that's about what I use on the inside.
Oh, that's pretty light, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very light.
Yeah, okay.
Because the wheel and the grit are doing the work.
Okay.
If you look, I'm only a couple inches above my wheel.
Yeah.
So ergonomically, I don't have any pressure on my shoulder, and it just allows me to do exactly the same thing. It's the little items like that make your grinds come out the same way every time.
Yeah.
You know, we got to be consistent. If not, we're wasting our time.
That was fascinating watching Steve sharpen those blades. There's a few tricks I saw that I was going to try as far as putting them together. Some of the things he does worries me a little bit, but if you try any of his steps, as I said, do one at a time and see how they work, see if your customers can tell a difference and if they're happy. And some of the things he does some of the things I saw him doing today were so different than the way I was trained that I'm a little apprehensive, but I'm willing to experiment and try and let you know. And don't expect all the things you saw today to be incorporated in my training and in my sharpening. But if I can pick up 1 or 2 ideas that lets me go from 4 blades an hour to 6 or 10, That'll make up a good bit of difference and make extra money, and maybe I'll like clipper blades a little bit more than I have been. We'll see.